Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode for Relate to You. We're glad to have you back. For today's episode, we're going to try to to be swift about it. Try to make it short and sweet.
Not gonna happen, but
But that is always our attempt, guys. It is always our goal to be short and sweet, and it's just
we like to talk.
yeah, we do. So bear with us, But for today's episode, we're going to talk about this idea that I feel it's coming in and it's creeping in the church, and this idea of self love and self care. Now, we're going to talk about, is it a good thing? Like what's happening right now with that trend? I would say it's a trend. So, Kes, what when you hear self love and self care, what do you think?
I think self care is something that I relate to more than self love.
Okay,
Because I
okay.
associate self care with okay, so I have this thing under my sink, and it's a bunch of like face masks. There's hands masks, foot masks. I have the lip things, the under your eye things. That's vitamin C, no sé qué.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these things that when I have, a very, busy weekend or whatever, or I'm just like, I'm in the mood to
Yeah.
just, I love like doing this whole routine. I'm never going to be what I see on Instagram, which is like, I'm like, dude, you do this every night? Every night? You take like an hour to put all of the serums and moisturizers. I mean, maybe someday, pero
When you're a stay at home mom,
when I'm a
living
stay
the
at home
dream,
mom,
living the dream.
But I do think it is important to take care of yourself. And so, for my hater out there that's like, but you don't take care of your weight.
Oh my god!
Because because listen, I was listening to someone today. Was it you who sent it? I don't know who sent it. It was this meme that this girl, like, she's like, I'm gonna show you guys my routine, but to all my haters out there, I'm already gonna like click back with you guys because I know you guys are all like, oh, all of this, for taking care of, the outside of your body, but you're not taking care of the inside of your body because she's overweight, and she's like,
That wasn't me.
my response to you is, I'm working on it, And so, yes, of course, I do think that con muchas cosas nos fallan, me falta in the exercise and the fitness. Pero in those times where I'm like, okay, I really want to like take care of myself, I will do a hair mask. I'll try to, do all the stuff that make me feel like, oh my God, I'm so pretty, I'm so clean, I'm so squeaky clean, I think it's funny because Joel's just like, so what's this for, and I'm like, oh, this is a mask, it's hydrating, why do you have things on your feet, I'm like, oh, they're to soften, so you don't have like, like callus down there and stuff. And what's the thing on your lips? I'm like, oh, it plumps it, and just different things, and I'm like, it does a difference, so I
and
think
you take it off. He's like, I don't see
I don't, yeah, you smell good. Your hair looks curlier. Yeah, it's true. So I think self-care for me, it's that it's where you do things to try to care for your body, whether it's your face, whether it's your nails, even, you go do your nails. You do fitness, you do exercise. I think that's a form of self-care, 100%. People who do their hair, like that's, algún día I might dye my hair, guys, because tengo muchas canas, that might be my thing. I've always, growing up, that was a thing from my mom's era, which was, because I think today there's a lot more standards for self-care and beauty. But in my mom's time, it was, estuve en el salón. Estuve horas en el salón. Like, that was the thing.
Doing your hair. Okay.
Doing your
like
hair.
A hairdo.
They cut it and then they curled it or something. Like, ay, mira, me fui al salón. Nowadays, it's like, I did my nails. I did my skin routine. There's so much more as far as like the standard. How do you self-care, or do you have you ever done some kind of routine or whatever?
Yeah, well, I have a acne prone skin, so I do have a night routine. It's not extensive. Maybe it should be because I have to
Is
deal
it
with
is it more
stuff.
than 10 steps?
No, it's literally four,
4 steps.
four,
Hey, hey,
four steps.
that's 3 more
And
than mine.
and there are days where I'm so tired I don't care, and I go to bed with my dirty face. Sorry, guys. Yes, with my dirty face. But I do try to do at least one face mask per week. I do go get my nails and my toes done every 2 weeks. Um, I don't do my hair. I do have products. I think if anything, my hair routine is probably longer than my face routine because it's curls.
Mm.
And curls, if you don't take care of them a certain way, it's poofy or it's flat or I mean, I do think and this is gonna show how ignorant I am about the whole hair situation. But I do think that the girls that do their hair, they have it easier than
Oh,
curly hair
100%. Oh,
curly
100%.
girls. I do think that es bien fácil al hacerte el pelo y hacerte curls. Sorry, girls,
100%.
sorry, but caring for curly hair, it's crazy. It's insane. One of these days, we should probably do a something
Show you
about
my
our hair.
bonnet.
Yeah.
No, no. You know what? We'll talk a little bit about it right now because I don't know that I could go into detail in a full on episode. Look, I have now about almost 7 months trying to do my curly hair journey. It's been 7 months since I've strained it, right, and cut it actually. Um, so I'm due for a trim, but
Same.
I have everything now. I
She
have.
did. Guys, when I tell you she said, I'm going for my journey. I'm like, they're gonna be curly because they have to
Go
curl.
big or go home.
Yes.
I told my husband this is what I went for my birthday. I made him a list. I gave him links, everything. I mean, never mind. He did it all on his own. Anyways,
Yes, he did. He
so
thought it all.
he thought it all. I have the bonnet. I have the satin
Mhm.
sheets.
Mhm.
I have the microfiber towel. I
Mhm.
have the it's the hydrating cream, but then the curl cream, and then the frizz
Detangler.
control,
Yeah.
detangler. I have the
Mhm.
gel for hold. I have the Denman brush. I have the Tangle teaser. I have it all for
Yeah.
my curly haired girls and that know what I'm talking about. Yes. Man, I should have known. I forget my I think her name is Jenny Marie on YouTube. Shout out to you. But I've watched a lot of YouTube channels on like how to care for your curls.
Mhm.
Lula is a big part of the journey as well. But it's hard.
It's hard. It's expensive. It's time consuming.
The
I mean,
diffuser. I forgot to mention the diffuser.
the,
Goodness.
the diffuser. I mean, hey, and then there's me. I use a shirt for my hair, but I do think I do use a lot of products. I think I have a detangler, I have aceites, I have a cream, and then I have a mousse, and then I have an antifreeze or whatever, and then I have, I know antifreeze es como para el carro,
Anti-frizz.
no? Anyway,
Anti-frizz.
there you go, frizz. Así, o sea, and then it doesn't stop there, guys. At night, you have to care for it para que te dure 3 días or at least 2.
Because you're not supposed to wash your hair every day.
Uh-huh.
I learned later in life that you're
Yeah.
not supposed to do that.
And so it's mad. It's maddening. And so, yeah, that was our rant for that. But
It falls into self-care.
self-care. So it falls into self-care. However, I do think that when I'm conscious and intentional about caring for my hair, my skin, my nails, my feet, whatever, it does make me feel like, oh, I'm adulting. Okay, I'm doing something right.
Me estoy cuidando.
Me estoy cuidando.
Como
There
una
you go.
mujer, yeah.
Uh-huh. And so I do think for me, self-care también, I might have an expensive problem, but self-care is retail. For
Oh,
me
retail
también.
therapy. shop
And
therapy.
I do not have to buy. Sometimes just looking. Sometimes just looking and being like, oh, I like that, but I wouldn't buy it. Sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's just like imagining myself in that and be like, nah, not gonna commit to that. I can pull it off or whatever. And sometimes it's that. Or sometimes it is actually buying it and realizing, oh yeah, I fit, or realizing the opposite. But that is one, and I do think I do oil on my eyelashes every night.
Oh, really? To make
Yeah,
them long?
that's the goal, but mostly because my eyelashes they go down.
Oh.
And so what I use it for is for them to be more flexible. That way when I curl them, they don't break.
Oh.
So if they grow, that's a plus for me. But I truly do it for them to be less stiff.
Mm.
So when I curl them, they don't break, which is bad. And so right now I invested in an eyelash curler, $20, dude.
Dude,
$20. But I'll say this. I
you're gonna use it.
not just use it, but I do think I'm getting my money's worth.
Oh, nice.
Because okay, it might do the same thing the other eyelash curlers would do, but this one doesn't break them like the other ones do.
Oh, I see.
And it's Japanese, Shiseido, whatever. $20, dude. $20. Me dolió la verdad. Pero I was like, if it's worth it,
And if you're gonna use it,
and I do use it, so um
doing your eyebrows,
I
do my eyebrows.
I don't do my eyebrows.
That's right. You don't do.
I
Your
don't do
eyebrows.
my
I
eyebrows. Maybe I should.
But obviously, you take off the ones in the middle.
Yeah, I do take these ones
So-
off. And a veces sí me quito estas. Pero, like, estas de acá.
The shape of itself, you keep. Yeah.
Yeah, ajá. Pero estas de acá y aquí, no, never, never. And I have never cut
Trimmed
them,
them, yeah.
like trim them, ni nada. That's about it, I think. That's about it. I don't do, I used
Te
to.
bañas.
I mean-
You know, I think for me, like the one area that I lack a lot is putting lotion on my body. Like it's so sad. Like I'm telling you, I'm so late with these things.
She be dusty.
I
and
she be
crusty.
ashy.
And
Because my mom taught us to be ladies. She taught us to be, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
clean and to take care of ourselves. And for the record, my mom was one of those of like accentuate your waist, you know, look your age, and all of those things. And she would always preach to me, ponte crema en los, ¿cómo se dice? En los codos.
codos.
Ponte crema en las rodillas. You know, no quieres que. And her elbows are so soft. They're beautiful. She's been doing it for so many years.
There's a
and
truth there.
there's a truth there. She's like, ya ves los míos? And my mom is one of those like, yo cuando me casé, yo nomás pesaba 90 libras. And I'm like, okay, mom, you're also 4'11". But like, she's always been very feminine, and growing up, she just valued that era in her life. She still is, but now, you know, she isn't as much of like, you know, that as an adult. It's more of like, mis hijas, quiero que mis hijas se ven bonita, ¿verdad? And I always lack in that area. Like I never, like when I go to bed, like I brush my teeth, I wash my face, and I'll put like a moisturizing cream. Y ya, me acuesto. Like I don't have like I'm gonna put lotion on my elbows and really, you know, go in there. You know, and you know, my husband's been like, man, like they're ashy today.
He'll be like,
You're like,
let me get that for you.
Do you hear the sound? Do you hear the sound?
Hey, I need an exfoliator. Préstame tu codo.
So I'm definitely not where I should be. I remember when I was talking to a couple of girls, and they were and no lo digo por vanidad, es la verdad. At the time, they were like, "Man, Kez, you have really nice skin. Like, do you have
No, she does.
do you use
Have
something?
a
'Cause
routine.
thank the Lord, thank you Jesus, me has librado. I've never struggled with acne, and so they were telling me this, and they were like, oh, you know, like, what do you do? And I was like, I was probably 17 or 18, and I was like, oh, you know, I take a shower, and they were like, and so they laughed and they thought I was joking, and they're like, okay, yeah, we all know we shower, you know, but what else? And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I'm like, oh, sometimes I put lotion. And they were like, well, what kind of lotion? I'm like, I think it's like the blue one, the Nivea. You put it. That's not a face lotion. And I'm like, well, it's cool on my face. That's what I use. And they're like, wait. Like, do you have a face wash? And I'm like,
Nope.
I use the bar of soap. And they were like, what do you mean the bar of soap? Like, they're like, wait, the same bar of soap you use for your body, you use it for your face? I'm like, are you not supposed to? And they were like, no, like, do you have like a loofah or something? I'm like, what? Like, I was so like, I didn't know what loofahs were. I didn't know body scrubs. We even went through that. Like, we were talking about differences.
That was a whole cultural shock, guys.
And culture shock, yeah. And so I was really way out of it. So it's been years that, like, up until now, that I'm like, okay, let's start. You know, when I have my kids, my girls, I gotta know, mija, you know, ponte.
But I'll say this. What's going on here?
Sorry, because it just crossed my mind that, you know how, like, in every generation things kind of tend to get worse. So for my daughter, mine are gonna be soft for her, because she's probably not gonna have like the best routine, because I'm gonna be the model, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm like, her codos are probably not gonna be that soft.
No, but I will say this: if you don't need to, you don't have to have a face routine. Like in your case, because I remember you were like, I'm wondering if I should start. I'm like, if you don't need to, hey, don't do something that might do the opposite.
Right.
You know, so keep doing the bar soap. Keep using jabonzote. It's like, that's gonna work.
But we see the importance of self-care.
Yeah, I know. I think for me, self-care, for me, I do enjoy putting lotion. I do enjoy it, like, oh, yes, you know, and I enjoy that feeling of, like, going to bed after having taken a shower and being all lotioned up.
Mm-hmm.
And, but for me, my lotion has to be odorless because yo me mareo hasta cuando me voy a dormir. I'm very picky with smells. So it's kind of like, if it were to smell any kind of way, no, me mareo y me vomito. So, pero también for me, self-care is food. Self-care is...
like healthy food?
No, then maybe I have a...
I think you're talking about pleasures in life. That's a different topic.
Never mind. No, well, for me... Porque
exercise for you, no?
Yes, no, exercise sí, pero for me... Well, yes, exercise sí is a huge thing for me. Pero for me, a veces, I have found that when I'm feeling kind of like I need a booster, like I need obviously, apart from prayer and apart from getting closer to God y todo eso, I do think I gravitate to, like, okay, what's a food that's going to bring that out of me? What's a food that's going to give me that, like...
Other avenues that bring a sense of relief and rest
un poquito
and
de joy, you know, joy. And so I usually, when I'm feeling blue, when I'm feeling a type of way, I'm usually like, okay, where can I go that I know it's going to be delicious y me va a dar esta, like, you know, I'm going to release, you know, oxytocin, you know, like something like that.
Surada dinner special.
Exactly. See? And so I have a lot of things. And so, you know, tacos, tortas, a sandwich, urban cafe, a hook burger, the Maui one. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes even a juice, you know, a flan, arroz con leche, you know, un caldo de res, un caldo de pollo, caldo de pescado, aguachiles, like it's just...
Oh my God, I'm gonna need to rewatch that part, because you were just like you could have gone on forever.
I think I got lost. I think I was like, oh my God.
Look, Lula loves food, dude.
I do.
She loves food.
I do. Entonces, for me, self-care, it's a joy. I mean, food is a joy. And for me, self-care también stems on that, on like, yes, you know, it may be a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe I have a bad relationship with food still. Porque I do feel like I tend to, like, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm feeling down. I need chips.
Right. I get what you're saying.
You know,
like,
so
balance.
You know, balance. Pero yeah, self-care, I think, you know, bringing it back, I do think that we all have some idea of self-care. But I do think, like you were saying, we don't do that, like, whole 9-step routine. And obviously, you know, there are people out there that might, and, you know, they're very son muy limpias and they're very clean.
God bless them.
Good for them. But I do think that self-care can potentially bring you to this borderline of self-love. Now, is self-love a bad thing?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna.
No, no, no.
I
I'm
was
still
like,
thinking about what Chile's did.
no, I don't think self love is a bad thing. I don't think most things, if we really think about it, are. I don't think most positive things are negative. I think that where it becomes a negative is where it becomes an obsession and it passes the part of making it a balance. I do think we live in a world where we have gone to the other extreme, because we grew up in a culture where, just to speak on, at least, for us, it's the Latina or the Latin culture, right? Um, I watched this meme today that was like, I'm going to go tell my parents I have depression. And he goes up to his parents and he's like, tengo depresión. And then the dad's like, ¿cómo que vas a tener depresión?
Ponte las
Ponte
pilas.
las pilas. And then the mom, she's like, ¿qué dijo? Es que tiene depresión. And they just brush it off, right? And even though it's meant to be funny, it does spark of a lot of the realities of what our parents grew up with, which is there was always something more important than, your emotional state. We were coming from a country that, we're maybe going, we're moving away from poverty, maybe moving away from a much tougher, much more dangerous situation to a country where we don't know the language, we don't know anything really.
You gotta
to
hustle.
Start from the ground up. There's no time for self-love, self-care. There's no time for are you sad, are you happy? We need to survive. And so what matters that our kids have a roof. What was that? It was the projects. It was a very small house in a certain area that probably wasn't the safest. Do we have food on the table? Yes. Was it probably, because of WIC and food stamps? Yes. So their priorities were about survival, right? And yes, you grew up in a generation where, based off of the traditional values, la esposa está en la casa, o la esposa está, trabajando in a factory, in the fields or whatever. And you just see this, like, there wasn't time for me.
Right.
There wasn't time. And I'm speaking as my mom, like, I needed to provide for my kids. I needed to ensure that they were okay. My husband got sick, when I was in my 30s. So that became a priority, ensuring that he was alive and that we were going to have what we needed and we were going to be a family. So was there self-love for my mom at that time? No, there was no time for her to be like, well, it's me time, it's mommy time, it's this is a thing that's now it's a baby moon. We have a baby, but we need a honeymoon from the baby because the baby is a lot, and so
that exists.
yeah, it's a thing.
That's
it's
a
baby moon.
thing.
Yeah. And so, like, I grew up in a generation where it's like, no, nos llevamos los chiquillos, como que no vamos a ir a la fiesta porque traen a los chiquillos, no, ahí van a estar allí, vamos a estar hablando y nos quedamos hasta la medianoche platicando y todo, pero ahí están los chiquillos, and very, very different mindset, there was no like, ay, pero la esposa siempre está en la cocina and blah, blah, blah. It was just, that's what everyone did, right?
It's you know what it is? Feminism.
Yeah.
Feminism came and wrecked everything. Everyone knew their roles.
They knew their roles.
They knew their roles and they knew, okay, if this is my role, I'm going to do, my best or whatever.
Pero sí existe el machismo.
I know, for sure.
So,
for sure.
And I think that's where, again, where there is an extreme, we always go to the other extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a situation where there was a toxic machismo in a home? Yes. Was there like, no, yo no me voy a levantar y ni voy a ayudar a tu mamá o con nada porque esas son cosas de la...
Sí, quítame los zapatos.
Yeah, of course there was that. And I think that because of that, those women or those mothers, didn't want that for their children.
Right.
Their daughters, no. Tú encuéntrate un muchacho que te va a ayudar. Encuéntrate un muchacho que también va a lavar trastes, que también te va a ayudar con las cosas en la casa.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember that even though I didn't grow up in a toxic machismo home because my dad, I don't know what kind of man he would have been had he not been sick, but he wasn't that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I got married and Joel would like get up to like wash his dish, my family would be like, ay, no, deja hijo él, que es Ken, and I was always like, why? He's fine, And so I do think that there was that extreme, but I think that instead we went into the other extreme of like, I remember having a conversation with someone once that was like, when you get married, it's about you. When you get your kids, it's about you. Don't like let anybody tell you anything. Like, it's you. You're going through a lot. Your body's changing. You're this and that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're a mother, and it's a lot on your body. But I feel like we made women some kind of a god, and we're speaking for women as women. We can't speak for men, but for me, I just felt like it's like la mujer hace tanto and we do, pero like so much so that's like no, like I need to be praised and thanked and loved and admired, and
I just want to be appreciated
because I do so much. And it's like, yes, I do believe as a wife I do a lot, but my husband does a lot, and as a man he does a lot, and the pressure that he goes through is a lot. And I think that that's where self-love gets dangerous.
I do think that right now, mira, porque por ejemplo la Biblia dice, ama a tu prójimo como a ti mismo. What that tells me is that the way you love yourself that's how you're gonna love others, right? So you need to have no me gusta a mí usar la palabra self-love, if I'm being honest. For me, self-love yo sí lo veo como algo negative. However, I do think it's because of that. I do think because we've gone to the other extreme.
Right.
I do think that you cannot give what you do not have. So, tú no puedes amar a tu prójimo si tú no te amas, realmente hablando. No le puedes dar lealtad si tú no te eres leal a ti mismo. Y la única forma de hacer eso es el primer mandamiento. Ama a tu Dios como, ¿verdad? Con todas tus fuerzas, con todas tus... Entonces, para que tú te puedas amar a ti mismo, tienes que amar a Dios primero. Y entonces, by default, vas a poder amar a tu prójimo. I do think, though, that in this time and age, we've given focus to me. O sea, esa idea de que tú no puedes dar lo que tú no tienes se ha vuelto, okay, then I need to give myself everything so I can quote unquote give. Pero we don't give anymore. We just stay with whatever we want to give ourselves. Right. Pero no lo damos. Entonces, I do think que por ejemplo, eso de moon baby.
The baby moon. Yeah.
I'm still wrapping my head around it. How can you have a break from your kids, your newborn baby?
But that's the thing.
Like it's just what?
We're living in a generation where so marriage has existed for so long, right?
Right.
But now it's like, because of privilege, we have to find a new struggle.
Exactly.
So it's like,
exactly.
Yes, our parents had kids and their parents had kids, but having kids today is much harder, because at that time our parents were dealing with so much. Like, we didn't really know like the mental state that they were in. We didn't acknowledge their trauma. So that's why we didn't really get to talk about those things. But now let's acknowledge my trauma. It is a lot for me.
And you know what happens with that, and I constantly see it on Instagram. Maybe I should lay off of Instagram, but I constantly see it and I get upset. I see this of like, oh, it's because my mom never acknowledged my trauma as I was growing up. Now I'm so and so, and I'm this and that, and and you have these kids blaming their parents. You have these kids putting their parents on blast on Instagram, disrespecting parents and saying how they were bad parents, and now and now I can function as a human being because of my parents, and all this blame. And in my head is like, dude, todos sufrimos. Todos. Porque guess what? Our parents are not perfect. And guess what? Their parents were not perfect.
And you won't be a perfect
parent.
And
I won't be a perfect parent. What you can hope is that you gather yourself, you pick up your cross, and you do what it's best for you and for those around you. And start blaming people. Because you know what I feel self-love has done? It takes away your responsibility and puts it on someone else. Oh, como lo que decías tú, oh, es que como I'm pregnant, my husband has to do everything I say because I'm the one that's creating this human. I'm the one that's carrying it. I'm the one that blah, 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 blah. And we've made this idea that just because we do a lot, we deserve a lot too. And I think that's not, I don't know, guys, if you've, maybe some of you haven't read the Bible, but the last time I checked, the Bible doesn't speak about that. The Bible is be selfless. The Bible is give.
There it is.
It is always best to give. The Bible is all about, si te dan una cachetada, ponle la otra mejilla. I mean, and so where do we get as Christians, maybe no los que no saben, los que están en el mundo, pero as Christians, where do we get this idea that I deserve it? Where do we get this idea that I need to receive? Like, I don't know, it's, por eso es que esta idea de que okay, por ejemplo, le quieres dar lo mejor a tus hijos.
Yes.
The best carriola, the best clothing. Y yo solamente compro de acá porque del arroz, hoy no, le da alergia a mi chiquillo. And all these things, and yet you want a moon baby? You want I mean, like, o sea, no me cabe en la cabeza. And yet, le quiero dar todo lo mejor, todo esto, pero guess what? También quiero que sepan lo mucho que trabajo por ellos, lo mucho que me esfuerzo, lo mucho que me sacrifico y, okay, qué bonito, pero I mean, I don't know about you, pero if there's one thing I've learned, y as sad as that sounds, yo nunca voy a amar a mi mamá the way she loves me.
Never.
Never. That's never gonna happen. And not even when I become a mom. La voy a entender más, la voy a apreciar más, pero nunca la voy a amar como ella me ama a mí. Entonces, for parents nowadays to think, oh no, my kid me tiene que dar just as much as I give, se me hace ridículo.
I think we can't rewrite the stars. Like, I think that we're trying to redo the reality of things that are already in place. Marriage is not about you. It's just
Amen.
not. Parenting having children is not about you. With every decision you make in terms of these kinds of experiences, you lose bit of yourself. That is a reality. I am sorry. If you are planning to get married and you're like, I'm hoping to get married so that I can live a fairy tale life and that everything could be accommodated to me and I could have the happiest life. Yeah, maybe if you marry some kind of billionaire que no importa de ti, te va a dar todo el mundo, like everything you want, maybe you're the exception. But the reality is, if you want a marriage the way that it's supposed to be, where two people are working together to fulfill their vows, and I'm going to love and respect and be there for you, it's not about you. Sometimes for me, it's about Joel. It has not, that whole day went by, it was about Joel, because Joel needed me. Joel needed his wife to be there for him. And then there's days where it's not about Joel. It's about Kez, because Kez needs him. And that is how our relationship is. Mm-hmm. The day that we have children, it's not going to be about Joel and I anymore. It's going to be about, yes, us. Yes, we're important. Yes, we need to make sure we're okay. But it's going to be about our children. What do they need? Yeah. How can we help them? How can we nurture them? And I think where we're trying to head in this self-love mindset is, how can I find a way for me to still, in a way, have it be all about me and still have love and still have children and still have all the accommodations of a good life, but it's about me. And we'll find ways to do it, whether it's through Instagram, whether it's through the clothes that we buy, whether it's through the things that we spend. It's about me. And, okay, I bought this, because I deserve it, or my husband and I went on a trip because we deserve it. It's just been a lot with the kids. Or, we spent this for the kids because, they're having a rough time. Like, we go to the extremes. And I think that that's the problem, that we're trying to rewrite what is already in place, which is, the more that you love, the more that there's sacrifice. The more that you go forward in becoming a wife, becoming a mother, there's sacrifice. And if you're trying to find a way to avoid that by trying to make it about yourself, I do think that, I mean, are people already doing it? Yes, 100%. you know. And I think the conversation is, do we agree with that? I don't agree with that. I also don't agree with a woman should never have her birthday celebrated or a Mother's Day celebrated, and she shouldn't go buy a dress that she wants. Or no, I'm not saying that
Yeah,
she shouldn't get a
guys,
break.
balance.
But again, this mindset of like, no, 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 I do so much, and I should be praised. And that's why I do think that it's we've made idols of ourselves.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
it's like I've made an altar for myself. What can I offer? What can I have others offer to me so that we can continue praising Kez? So that Kez is she does so much, and she's this amazing person, and she's exhausted, and she cleans and she cooks, and you know, someday parents, you know, come and praise me. But the word of God says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And so that's the thing that should be the utmost important to us. So when we are the thing that is the most important to us because we're afraid of, you know, having trauma, or, you know, voy a caer en depresión o lo que sea, like I just don't think that I think it's in those moments where it's like, maybe don't get married. You know, maybe don't have kids, you know, because the reality is, you know, if you're not willing to sacrifice or be selfless, then you're gonna have a hard time. And it's in those moments where you do see narcissism in women, and you have kids where like, it was all about my mom. It was all about her. It was all about, you know, what was important to her, what was her, you know, whatever. And so then there's your trauma. You know, you're always going to do something, you know.
I think I think you need to choose your your struggle. You know, you need to choose your struggle. Marriage is hard. Being single is hard. You know, you know, I'm pretty sure getting to your 60s sola with your 10 cats and 10 dogs, it's gonna be hard. And probably being getting to your 60s with your husband, and you know, it was a rocky marriage, it's gonna be hard. Choose your struggle. You know, todo va a ser difícil. Todo va a ser difícil. Pero I do think we've planted this idea in people that um, if I love myself, uh, and by love we really mean if I get everything I want, um, I'm going to be happy.
Right.
And because I'm going to be happy, I'm not gonna struggle as much, and everything's just gonna be amazing because I would just have this amazing husband, and I just have these amazing kids because I love myself so much and because they cater to me. And the reality of things is, hey, if it works for you, it works for you. Maybe not for everyone, but I don't think, if we really think about it, that's not what that I don't think that's a principle that lasts the test of time,
Right.
because it's not a biblical principle. It doesn't hold true. You know, it doesn't hold any truth. And so I do think that you know, and I was going to say this scripture at the beginning just to sort of form our basis, but I think this is a good time to say it as well. It's Second Timothy chapter 3 verse 1 to, I think I'll read all five verses. It says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than the lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people." So I think,
It's one of the first ones that are mentioned.
yes, exactly. And I think we are living those times, guys. We are living, and it's sipping into the church, which is what's crazy. That's what's crazy. That you have people at church saying things like, uh, self love and all this self, but no one talks about selfless and servitude and service. And you know, oh, les dices a la gente, vengan a ayudar, no one shows up. You know, you tell people we need a lot of help for children's ministry, for whatever event. Dude, you're pulling teeth out of people. ¿Por qué? Porque they're like, no, I have my date with I have my date with so and so, and
With
it's my
me,
time.
have my date with me.
Yeah, and it's like, I I think there's a balance. También no pienso que todo el tiempo es like dar y 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 dar, porque luego va a haber un tiempo en que ya no vas a tener nada que dar, porque you're empty. You have to pour in to pour out. Pero what are you pouring in?
Right.
What are you pouring in? What are you nourishing yourself with? And so I do think que estamos viviendo esos tiempos donde estamos viendo, por eso dice, they have the form of godliness, pero they have nothing to do with God. It's like they look like they have it all together. They look like they may have a very good life.
Look Christian.
They might look Christian, but guess what? Les ves los frutos and you're like, pero no es cierto. O sea, es mucho de esta persona. And, and I think for me, one of the tell signs of someone that is like, okay, yeah, es cuando cuando te quieren decir cómo vivir tu vida. And they've lived that life for like a short period of time. Y no escuchan consejo de los que ya llevan más tiempo. For example, cuando alguien recién casado te dice, when I was single, I used to do this and that. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I get it. Or nada you just got married y someone que lleva poquito más tiempo de casada te quiere decir, this is what worked for my husband and I.
Mm-hmm.
And like, now that I'm the mother, I can tell you this. I can give you this advice. And then you're like, and then you hear them have a conversation with their moms, about a marriage, about how to be a mother. And they're like, no, mom, that doesn't work out. You need to understand that you need to ask permission to the kid. You need to tell the baby that what you're about to do. And it's like,
Can I pick you up?
really? Can I hold you? Like, okay. And it's like, okay, so you want to give advice to people based on your 3 months of experience, but you're not taking advice from people that have 25 years of experience. That to me is insane. Like, it's just no tienen lógica, and it's like, okay, porque los tiempos cambian, porque gluten-free people, and it's like, okay. So, y también la Biblia lo dice, guys. La Biblia lo dice que, y no sé, creo que es en Timothy también, que habla de que va a haber gente que van a amar a la tierra,
Creación.
van a amar la creación y no al creador. Y lo vemos, gente que dice, hay que amar al mundo y hay que cuidar del environment y bla, bla. Y no creen en Dios. También la Biblia habla de los vegans, de los que dicen, va a haber gente que va a decir no coman de
No,
carne,
yeah.
pero Dios bendijo esa carne. And it's like, we're living those times.
I think in what the scripture is getting at is that since Adam and Eve, the whole concept of sin is us, coming up with this concept of I know better than God. I can make my own decisions apart from God. I can choose a better way apart from God. And we do this in our care for ourselves and our love for ourselves. It's like, well, and this is where it doesn't make sense to me sometimes with the concept of self-love, because it says, seek the kingdom of God first and all his righteousness, and everything will be added unto you.
Mm-hmm.
What it means is God will take care of your needs.
Mm-hmm.
Does that include my emotional needs? Yes. Does that include my financial needs? Yes. Does that include my children, my marriage? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what is the formula to obtain that peace? It is seeking God above
First,
else,
yeah.
and his righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
But we've come up with other avenues. How can I find emotional security, financial security, all of these things? It starts with loving myself. It starts with giving myself rest. It starts with me, ensuring that I take the time to take care of me, and if I don't do it, nobody else will do it. And I think in some ways, we do take God out of the equation
Mm-hmm.
to take care of us. I think that if we gave God our emotional needs, our burdens, our exhaustion, for those mothers that are tired, are exhausted, for those wives that are tired and are exhausted, for those that are single and are tired and
And
exhausted,
exhausted.
whatever it is that you're finding yourself in, give that to God. And what better person to show you true love than the one who is the definition of it.
Love.
If you look at Jesus, and our whole mission in life is to mirror the life of Jesus. Everything he's done from his birth to his death was, I am here for others. I am here for the service and safety and salvation of others. I came to restore. I came to give life. I came to heal. And even at the cross, why did he die on the cross? Why? Because he cared about us. He loved us enough to say, you know what? I don't want this person to live a life apart from me and perish in hell. I died for that person to have forgiveness of sins and forgiveness. Why do you need to do things to self-love if there is a creator who gave his life for you so that you can experience the utmost, ultimate kind of love? And so if we truly go to God, even for those things, I know that we've both had different journeys as far as loving ourselves and having self-confidence and having esteem. And I'm not saying, again, once you've reached a point where you're like, I like how I look, or I love myself, to not. What we're saying is the source of you feeling loved should not come from your children, should not come from your husband, should not come from how many followers you have, how many things you have, how many bags you have. It should come from God. It should come from what he has done for your life. And if you have that in place and you know how loved you are, that will trickle into your marriage.
Amen.
That will trickle into your children. That will trickle into your friendships and your coworkers and wherever you go. Why is it that there's people that are like, esa persona tiene algo diferente, o esa persona, I know there's something about her, because the love of God is so palpable that it spreads. It's not your self-care routine. It's not your this is what I do. I have to take 15 minutes a day to acknowledge that I am strong, that I am beautiful, that I'm wonderful.
The self-affirmation.
No, the mantra, the self-affirmations. No, it's what the word of God says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That is your affirmation. It's, my thoughts for you are greater than the sands of the seashore. There's my affirmation. It's you are more precious to me than the rubies. That is your affirmation.
Amen.
What more self-love could you need? Could you have to go find elsewhere that isn't in the word of God? There's so much evidence as it is to show us how much that we are loved, that it should equip us enough every day to be like, yo sé que soy amada. Yo sé que tengo a un Dios que me protege, que me quiere. Because we don't find our source in God, that's why we're empty. That's why we need self-help books. That's why we need self-love books. That's why we need routines. That's why we need affirmations. That's why we need everybody and their mothers to tell us, I'm living a hard life, because our source doesn't come from God.
Amen.
It comes from other things. And so we are here to bring a balance, to acknowledge, yes, bañate y huele bonita y ámate y mírate al espejo y encuentra si eres hermosa y si eres bonita por my hermanos
guapo.
también guapos,
Uh-huh.
Pero ultimately, your worth and your value and how loved you are should come from your creator. And
Amen.
That's our stance.
Yeah, and todo en balance, guys. Todo, I mean, we might have gone. I know that I probably went off a tangent, and I'm very muy fervientemente. But take it as always with balance. There siempre va a haber extremos y siempre queremos un balance. Y porque no estamos diciendo less of yourself, estamos diciendo be selfless, estamos diciendo que no estés todo el tiempo tú en medio. I think sometimes we find that letting other people shine, it's very rewarding. Letting other people and be a part of, like, oh, yo empujé, yo ayudé in some way or another for her or for him to be there.
Right.
It's a little victory for us. Entonces, um, I do think, and para todos los pastores que nos escuchan, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think que en el segundo commandment, it's very interesting que no dice ámate a ti y luego ama a tu prójimo. Y dice ama a tu prójimo como a ti mismo. Entonces, I've always wondered if the lesson there is, sometimes as you love others, you're going to start loving yourself. Obviously, la única forma de hacer el segundo commandment is if you do the first one, right? Which is what you were saying. Tienes que amar a Dios con todo tu corazón, con toda tu mente, con todas tus fuerzas, ¿verdad? Y por ende va a ser fácil amar a los demás. Entonces, for me, I've always wondered, is it like you start loving others and then that whole journey and process will start helping you love yourself? Or do you love yourself first and then you start loving others? I guess we'll never know which one's first and which one, pero what I do know is that they go hand in hand.
I think it goes in the order of the commandment.
And then it goes in the order of
If
the
the order of the
commandment.
commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. If you love the Lord above everything, then you will also receive of his love, which should therefore fill you up enough to be able to love others and then in turn be able to love yourself.
Right. Pero yo me acuerdo mucho cuando yo tenía, when I started coming to the Lord, I was afraid of praying for others. I was afraid because I thought, who am I to pray for others? Like, who am I to like, I'm no one. I'm no one. I cannot go and pray for you porque so, and I know that a lot of that stemmed from my the early process of me loving myself. And so I remember mi tío me dijo, and I do think about there were very wise words. Me dijo, when you start doing God's work, God does something so beautiful that as you start doing it for others,
Right.
It'll start working in you.
Right.
Entonces, él lo dijo en español, que a como empiezas a ayudar a otros, te vas también a ayudar a ti. Entonces, that's why suena lógico, ¿verdad? Que lo primero que va a pasar es, okay, recibes a Dios. Ese I agree with you. Pero where I'm finding myself sometimes wondering is the second part of that, which is, for me, I felt like the more I started to care about people, the more I started to care about me. For me, it worked. No, I wouldn't say the opposite or the reverse way or backwards, pero I do think it happens so simultaneously that I can't tell you, oh, ya primero me amé a mí misma y luego amé a otros.
Right.
Porque it happened at the same time almost, que no sé cuál fue primero y cuál fue después. And I do think many people perhaps do that. Eso les pasa where it's like, I don't know, it just happened, Y no estoy diciendo que no, hombre, I walk around loving everyone. No, I struggle, guys. I think a couple episodes ago, I shared here that I like a lot of patience, right? But what I can say is that I'm very intentional. I'm very intentional of like, okay, esta también es criatura de Dios. Let's be intentional in loving. Let's choose love. Porque ultimately love is una choice.
Yeah.
Entonces, you have to choose it. You have to choose it every time.
Again, I think in all our episodes, our theme has always been balance. But we hope that from this episode, you take questions and you take, as always, awareness of like, where am I in the scale? What extreme am I in? If you have a routine, do it, girl. But know that there should be a balance, and yes, love yourself, but not to a point that you are now being dismissive and disregarding of your responsibilities and of what God has placed in your care. And And if you are struggling with self-love, if you're struggling with, not having love for yourself, and not finding any reason to feel worthy or just valuable, we preach the gospel and we preach the love of God. And we truly believe that if you seek a relationship with Jesus, you will experience the most
Amen.
fulfilling love that you could ever experience. And so we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have a really cool skin routine or school or what kind of self-care routine, or you've never done a routine, let us know. If it's like some kind of burlap with like a little bit of like dish soap,
Piedra Pomex.
yeah, something, like let us know what has made you survive all these years. But other than that, we will see you guys on the next episode.
All right, guys, God bless. Bye.